Hey guys, it's been one of those days. I have them every once in a while. I'm pretty sure that you do too. Things just don't go exactly how you have planned it the first part of the day. This day is one of those days. Probably wondering what this white Chevy truck is doing here. It's a Silverado Z71 four-wheel drive, of course, and it's a cat-eye truck. It belongs to GM 1038. I drove it home from his garage. But before I get into all that and how I wound up with this truck driving it to my home, I'll tell you how my day started out. Okay, let me sit down here. Anyway, I really like this truck a lot. This is a good truck. Anyway, my wife and I had to run a bunch of errands today, which is typical. About every couple of days or 3 days, we got to go run a bunch of errands, this, that, and the other. Then, you know, you probably don't know this, but I took my little 93 Ford Ranger, the little green one with the Corvette rally wheels. I call it S10 Ranger. Phew, that's too close. I took it to a mechanic, and it's been over there like 2 or 3 weeks. The problem with the Ranger was I worked on it, and I wasn't for sure that I had fixed the problem. It would just idle up for no reason, no apparent reason. It wouldn't idle back down. So I took everything off and got into the butterfly. There's what I call it, throttle body thing. Sprayed carburetor cleaner, and it was clean to begin with. But I got in there with the toothbrush and cleaned all that stuff out of there, but there wasn't nothing. And I bought all the new stuff, the sensors and all that stuff, even though it already had new sensors on it. So, but I got them at a local parts store, so I was assuming they were cheaply made and maybe didn't work good, or had already went out. So I took it to my local mechanic, who's a lot smarter than I am, and I told him what it was doing. I said, "You're welcome to drive the truck. It's full of gas. Drive it just wherever you want to." I said, "I hope it don't." I said, "I'm hoping that it will idle real high with you, because when you get to a red light or a stop sign or something, when that truck's doing that just out of the blue, it, instead of idling down." Of course, it's a 5-speed, so you just depress the clutch and let everybody look at you while you're revving your engine so high. Anyway, he drove it. He didn't drive it much, because when I picked it up, it only had 23 miles on it. I had just filled it up. Had 23 miles. And it sat over there probably a week or two. I know they get behind. I know that. So, I told him, I said, "When you get it ready, holler. I'll come pick it up. Hopefully it will do it with you, and you'll know what the problem is." So about a week or two later, the receptionist at the local mechanic's office called me, said that, said he can't find anything wrong with it. It's running great. She said he'd like you to come pick it up. And I said, "Well," I said, "I got a bunch of new parts in the seat." I said, just tell him to go ahead and put those brand new parts on the truck, and when he gets done with it, I'll come pick them up." And even though the parts on the truck looked new, because they were fairly new, I just figured one of them was defective. And I hate to get out somewhere, out of town or something in that Ranger, and it started acting stupid. So I waited another week or two, and my wife and I happened to be in the area as we was running errands, and I whipped in there and I said, "How's that Ranger?" I said, "Have you figured out anything?" He said, "I hadn't done nothing to it." He said, "It's running good." I said, "Well, what about the new parts?" Well, he said, "It already had new parts on it." I said, "I know, but I said, I think I'm hoping one of them might have been defective." I said, "They're just cheap auto parts store parts. Where they're not made as good as they used to anyway." I said, I was wanting you to replace them with new. Maybe I'd solve the problem. Well, he didn't. So I got the truck and got home in it. And I noticed things that, when I got in the truck, things was in disarray. First of all, let me say this. I got in the truck and the doors were unlocked, the passenger and the driver's side. And the window was cracked about this much on the driver's side. Well, I didn't think nothing about it because, like I said, I told him to drive the truck. Just drive it wherever you want to. And, you know, I got home and, you know, I noticed my glove box, the armrest glove box, you know, console kind of thing. It's an armrest, but, you know, he's got a little console box inside the armrest. It was all messed up. And noticed my ashtray was pulled out. And, you know, my wife and I, we don't smoke. So, you know, I throw all my change in there. If I go to the store and I have any change, I just throw it in there in case I forget my wallet or something someday and I need something at the store. And I can just go out there and get it. Normally it's about $5 or $10 in it, I guess, in quarters and dimes and stuff. So, you know, I noticed that was pulled out and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I pulled it on out and there was no change in it. And I knew I hadn't took the change out. Let me say this, when I got to the mechanic's shop, the first time I took it, I locked all the doors. I always lock all my doors. Give them the key, the door's locked, you know. Because I knew they were behind, I didn't know when they'd get to it. Everybody's vehicle's set outside, by the way. Anyway, so I got to looking and, you know, the cigarette lighter was ajar, and, you know, it wouldn't let the ashtray close, so I pushed it on in, you know, fixed it. And, you know, I knew my change was gone. Then I noticed, you know, I got a key for my toolbox and a key for my, 2 keys. One for my gas cap, it has a locking gas cap with a key. And, you know, the toolbox on the bed, you know, I got a key for it. I keep all my tools in there because that's what the truck I like to go junkyarding in. And, you know, I was telling my wife, I said, I need to go out here and look at this truck. I said, I just remember seeing one key hanging there. So sure enough, there was only one key. And somebody had opened up the door because they hadn't locked the door. And they had stole all my tools, which I don't have many tools to begin with. But I did have a set that I was really fond of because my wife got it for me for my birthday about 10, 15, 20 years ago. Is a Craftsman, his old wore out Craftsman set, sockets, you know, metric and standard. You know, it doesn't amount to a whole lot, but I had I have a green bag that I carry all my other tools in, you know, Allen wrenches, you know, stuff like that, screwdrivers, you know, all kinds of stuff in that little green bag. And they were all gone. Somebody went through my toolbox, took all those tools. I looked behind my seat, they took my jack, so if I had a flat, you know, I could jack the truck up. They took it, and but I didn't have a key to the lock and gas cap, so I called the person, the place I took my truck to, and I said, somebody's stole a bunch of items out of my truck. So I said, what concerns me most is, I said, I have a lock and gas cap on my fuel, for my fuel. I said, I don't know how I'm going to get it open. I said, I've only got the one key, which is stupid on my part. But anyway, he said, bring it down here and I'll be here, and said, I'll get that off for you. So I went down there and I didn't know what to expect. I went down there and they said, I'm sorry, your stuff got stolen out of your truck. But what got me the most was, he said, I told you to come get this truck last week. And I said, well, I told you I wanted you to put those new parts on. He said, well, it's got new parts on it. I said, well, I thought one of them might have been defective. He didn't do it. He just let the truck sit there. And kind of got to me a little bit. It got more on my wife's nose. Excuse me, there's a bug flying around. And I apologize for the lawnmower. It got more on my wife's nose than it did mine. So, needless to say, I won't be back. You know, I can understand somebody breaking in the vehicle, breaking the glass, breaking the door glass to get in. There's really nothing in that Ranger. And what got me most though was they didn't even lock the doors. The window was cracked that much on the driver's side, and both doors were unlocked. And I told my wife if I had a facility like that where I was working on customers' cars, every evening before I closed shop, I would go outside and make sure all those vehicles were locked. So I'm just kind of out when it comes to the toolbox, my change, and that bag of tools, which isn't a lot. Like I said, my wife got more upset about it than I did, but I was remembering things my mom and dad said that, you know, when they were alive, and I was a little feller, probably about 4 or 5 years old. I know I've told you this, but I woke up one Saturday morning and watched cartoons and looked outside to see what kind of day we were going to have, and somebody was stealing my dad's car. As a 49 Ford, and as the only car we had. And at the time, my dad and mom, it was hand to mouth, every week, they lived on every paycheck. So the car was stolen. So we was without a car. And then I was telling my wife somebody broke into our apartment, and they stole everything out of the apartment that was worth anything. They stole my mom's high school ring and lots of other things that came up missing. So I got to thinking about that, and got to thinking about, my wife and I are alive and well and happy, and I got to thinking about stuff like that. And so I'm going to pray this evening for the person or persons that stole my tools and, the change and stuff like that. And, but the thing that got me the most was they didn't even have enough respect to lock the doors on my truck. But who's to say they wouldn't have picked up a rock? And there's probably 30 or 40 cars at that one facility where they're working on vehicles. So I mean, I'm just out. But anyway, the Lord is good to me. This has all just been a test, and I've got to pass the test. So I'm asking for forgiveness for those folks that broke into my truck. I'm asking for more for the people that own the repair shop, if they would be more considerate with somebody else's vehicles, because if they're like me, they had to make payments on the vehicle that they got or having worked on. Anyway, getting back to Brian's truck. I forgot about that. We were driving the little S10 Ranger, I call it, because it's got Corvette rally wheels on it, going to his house, because I took Left Turn Bill over there to get Brian to do some work on it, just piddly things really. But anyway, we got over, we was already in the S10 Ranger from going to the mechanic shop, and we was going to do a police report, but what's the use? Anyway, so we went to Brian's house, and I noticed that Ranger didn't have much power. Of course, it doesn't anyway. But it didn't have much power, so we were leaving his house in the Ranger, coming back home, which is a pretty good trip, probably 25 miles or 30. Anyway, we got going, and I noticed his pulling hard to the left. I told Mrs. PIB, I said, I think we might have a brake caliper locking up. So, sure enough, that's what it was. I turned around and went back to Brian's. And sure enough, it was smoking, and he said, I'll fix the brakes for you on it. And I said, well, I appreciate it. So I said, I don't know how I'm going to get home. He let me drive this. It reminds me a whole lot of the 07 Chevy truck we had, I don't know, a month or two ago, or whatever, coffee. So it's a good running truck. I wouldn't mind having it. I'm not a big fan of four-wheel drive, because I don't really need four-wheel drive. And it's just a lot of added weight, but this is a really nice truck. I don't know what year it is, but, like I said, it's a cat-eye truck, but I've already got the doors locked on it. So, anyway, I just thought I'd tell you what my day was like. I hope you're having a great day. Hope it's even better than what ours was. It's been a long day. Oh, I forgot to tell you. the rest of the day, I tell you what, I took left turn Bill over to Brian's, to do some piddly things on it, put the sport bumper on and this, that, and the other. And I got all the way home and was emptying out my pants pockets and realized I forgot to give him the key to the truck. So that's the reason we had to go in the Ranger. So I've been to Brian's house, counting the brake caliper locking up 3 times. So I told my wife, I said, I feel like we've been on the road all day just driving, and we have. So anyway, I hope you're having a great day. God bless y'all. Thanks for watching the video, and let me know if you've had a day like I've had, or worse. If it's worse, let me know, because that way I can feel better about this day even more. God bless y'all, and pray for all those in need, would you? Thank you. See you later.